There is a quiet panic happening at boarding gates this summer. Travelers are opening bags on the floor. Gate agents are pointing at backpacks. People are pulling chargers, medicine pouches, and travel documents out of suitcases while the boarding line keeps moving behind them. And the confusing part is this. Many of these passengers did not pack anything unusual. They brought the same roller bag they used last year, the same backpack that always fit, the same power bank, toiletries, glasses, medication, and small travel items they have carried for years. But right now, the airport is treating old habits differently. Full flights are leaving less overhead space. Basic fares are hiding stricter baggage limits. Gate agents are checking bags more carefully. And one small mistake can turn a normal carry-on into a fee, a delay, or a public repacking moment right before boarding. For senior travelers, this matters even more, because your carry-on is not just luggage. It may be the bag that holds your medicine, documents, phone charger, glasses, hearing aid case, sweater, and everything you need to stay comfortable during the trip. Quick question before we start. When you fly, do you keep your most important items in the backpack under your seat or inside the roller bag above you? Comment below, because your answer could decide whether the first rule becomes a small inconvenience or a real problem at the gate. Number 7. The gate check battery switch. This rule catches travelers because they usually do the right thing at home. A power bank goes into the carry-on. A spare camera battery gets tucked into a side pocket. A hearing aid charging case or backup phone charger gets placed somewhere inside the roller bag. At that moment, nothing feels wrong. The bag is staying in the cabin, so the batteries are where they are supposed to be. The problem starts later, when the airline changes the status of that bag. A full flight, limited overhead space, or a smaller aircraft can turn your carry-on into a gate-checked bag in less than a minute. Suddenly, the roller bag that was supposed to stay with you is being tagged and sent under the plane. That is when the battery rule changes from something invisible into something urgent. The FAA's PackSafe guidance says spare lithium batteries and power banks must travel in carry-on baggage only. It also says that if a carry-on is checked at the gate or plane side, spare lithium batteries and power banks must be removed and kept with the passenger inside the cabin. Now picture that moment for an older traveler. The gate agent is waiting. Boarding is moving. The roller bag is half open near the jetway. Inside are a sweater, papers, snacks, medication pouch, and maybe the power bank is buried at the bottom because it was packed hours ago. The traveler did not break the rule while packing. The airport changed the situation at the last second. That is what makes this rule so frustrating. Your bag can be safe and legal at home, then become a problem because it is no longer traveling where you expected it to travel. Keep power banks, spare batteries, charging cases, and small battery-powered essentials in the personal item that stays at your feet. Before boarding, ask yourself one simple question. If my roller bag is taken right now, what would I need to remove in 10 seconds? That answer should already be in your underseat bag, not hidden inside the suitcase most likely to be gate-checked. This first rule is not really about batteries. It is about access, and access becomes even more important when the next problem begins before you ever reach the airport. Number 6. The basic fare carry-on shock. Some travelers do not lose their carry-on at the gate. They lose it on the booking page, and they do not realize it until much later. A passenger sees a low fare online, clicks through quickly, and feels good about saving money. The seat is confirmed, the email arrives, and the trip feels normal. But inside the fare conditions is the detail that changes everything. That ticket may include only a personal item, not a full-size carry-on. This is where older travel habits become expensive. Many senior travelers remember when a carry-on felt like a normal part of buying a ticket. You brought a roller bag, placed it overhead, and moved on. But cheaper fare classes have changed that assumption. On some fares, the overhead bin is not part of the deal unless you pay for it earlier. The hard part is not just the cost, it is the timing. If you notice the restriction during booking, you can compare the true price of the trip. If you discover it at the gate, every cheaper option is usually gone. Now the agent is at the scanner, the line is moving, and your cheap ticket suddenly does not feel so cheap anymore. For senior travelers, this feels especially unfair because the roller bag often carries practical things, not luxury extras. Medication, glasses, a phone charger, a neck pillow, travel papers, and a light layer may all be inside. But the airline is not reading your bag emotionally. It is reading the fare class on your boarding pass. That is why the cheapest fare can become the most stressful fare. The price you see first is not always the price of the trip you actually need. Before buying any low fare, slow down and look for the baggage allowance before you close the tab. Words like basic economy, economy light, personal item only, or no carry-on included should stop you immediately. Price the ticket again with the bag you actually plan to bring. The real question is not, how cheap is this seat? The real question is, what am I allowed to carry to the gate with this fare? A ticket can quietly decide the fate of your bag, but even when the ticket is fine, the plane waiting outside the window can still make a different decision. Number 5. The small aircraft override. This is one of the most annoying carry-on surprises because it can happen even when you did almost everything correctly. Your bag may meet the normal size rule. It may have worked on the first flight. You may have checked the fare before booking. You may have packed your batteries properly and kept your personal item reasonable. Then you reach a regional connection or a shorter domestic segment, and the gate agent is already tagging roller bags before boarding even begins. The bag did not change. The airplane did. Smaller aircraft often have smaller overhead bins. Shorter routes can board faster. Full summer flights leave less flexibility. And if the crew knows the cabin cannot handle every roller bag, they may start limiting carry-ons before passengers even get close to the aircraft door. This catches travelers because the first flight gives them confidence. If the bag fit on the big plane, they assume the next plane will treat it the same way. But each aircraft has its own storage reality. Your first gate does not make promises for your second gate. For senior travelers, this can affect the whole travel day. If the roller bag holds a sweater for a cold cabin, a medication pouch, glasses, a charger, or anything needed during a connection, losing access to that bag mid-trip becomes more than a baggage issue. It changes comfort, timing, and control. The mistake is thinking allowed means guaranteed on board. It does not always mean that. Sometimes it only means the bag meets the policy until aircraft storage says otherwise. Treat your roller bag as storage, not survival. On any trip with a connection, especially a regional segment, pack as if the roller bag may be taken from you for part of the journey. Your underseat bag should hold medication, glasses, documents, wallet, phone charger, one small snack, and a light layer. If the aircraft overrides your plan, your essentials should not disappear with the suitcase. The aircraft can take away a roller bag. The next rule is different because it targets the smaller bag most travelers trust too much. Number 4. The personal item under seat test. The personal item used to feel safe because it looked harmless. A backpack, a tote, a purse, a laptop bag. Nothing that seemed large enough to create trouble. Most travelers worried about the roller suitcase and assumed the smaller bag would be ignored. That assumption is weaker this summer. A personal item is not judged by what you call it. It is judged by where it fits. If it does not fit under the seat in front of you, the airline may decide it is no longer a personal item, and on stricter fares, that can quickly become a carry-on problem. American Airlines says a personal item, like a purse or small handbag, must fit under the seat in front of you and should not exceed 18 by 14 by 8 inches. The same page lists the standard carry-on size as 22 by 14 by 9 inches, including handles and wheels. The trap is not the empty bag. The trap is the packed bag. A backpack may fit the rule when it is flat. Then you add a laptop, medicine pouch, snacks, glasses case, phone charger, cardigan, water bottle, and travel documents. Now it becomes stiff. The front pocket bulges, the side pocket sticks out. It no longer slides under the seat like a personal item. For senior travelers, this matters because the personal item usually holds the things that matter most. It is the bag you need during the flight. But if it starts looking like a second suitcase, it may attract the kind of attention you were trying to avoid. Pack your personal item fully at home and test it like an underseat bag, not like a backpack. Place it on the floor without pressing the sides in or holding the front pocket down. Ask honestly, would this slide under an airplane seat without a struggle? If the answer is maybe, reduce it before the gate forces you to do it in public. Pause here, because the first 4 rules all had one thing in common. The airline or aircraft decides what happens to your bag. The next rule is different. This one hits before boarding, and it catches travelers because one airport can make them trust a process that another airport does not follow. Number 3. The liquid rule confusion. The liquid rule catches travelers because it feels different from airport to airport. A traveler leaves from one airport and everything is easy. The toiletry bag stays inside the carry-on. The scanner moves quickly. Nobody asks questions. The traveler boards thinking the process has changed. Then a few days later, they return through another airport with the same shampoo, toothpaste, lotion, sunscreen, eye drops, or liquid medication, and the bag gets pulled. Now it feels like someone changed the rule. Sometimes the rule did not change. The checkpoint did. Different airports use different equipment and different routines. Some checkpoints feel more relaxed. Others still use the more familiar screening process. A traveler who packs for the easiest airport they remember may be unprepared for the strictest airport on the route. This is especially important for senior travelers because liquids are not always simple toiletries. They may include eye drops, saline, medical creams, cough syrup, or other health-related items. These can be easier to handle when they are organized clearly, but they create stress when they are scattered between shampoo, lotion, toothpaste, and sunscreen. The deeper problem is timing. A liquid search at the start of a calm trip is annoying. A liquid search during a connection, when the traveler is tired and the next boarding time is close, feels much worse. The most dangerous sentence in this situation is, "It worked last time." That may be true, but the airport you used last time may not be the airport deciding today. Pack liquids for the strictest checkpoint on your route, not the easiest one you remember. Keep toiletries organized and keep medical liquids separate enough that they can be explained quickly. If something is important or difficult to replace, do not hide it in the middle of a messy toiletry pouch. The goal is not to guess which airport will be relaxed. The goal is to make your bag clear enough that even the stricter airport does not turn it into a long search. At this point, the video shifts from airport inconvenience to passenger behavior. The next rule is one of the few that became much louder this summer, and it matters because in the wrong moment, a carry-on can stop being luggage and start becoming a danger. Number 2. The emergency bag rule. This rule is easy to ignore because nobody boards a plane expecting to use it. But this summer, aviation groups are saying it more clearly. During an emergency evacuation, the carry-on stays behind. That sounds obvious while sitting at home. It does not feel obvious when the bag above you holds your passport, wallet, medicine, phone, laptop, glasses, keys, and documents. In a calm moment, everyone says they would leave the bag. In a panic moment, the instinct to reach for it can be much stronger. IATA launched its Save a Life, Not a Bag passenger safety campaign on June 8, 2026, urging travelers not to retrieve cabin baggage during an aircraft evacuation. The guidance tells passengers to follow crew instructions, leave baggage behind, and move quickly to the nearest usable exit. This rule is different because it is not about fees, bin space, or embarrassment. It is about seconds. A person reaching into the overhead bin can slow the aisle. A bag can block movement, damage equipment, or create danger for the people behind. The more important the bag feels, the more dangerous that instinct becomes. For senior travelers, the answer is not to feel anxious. The answer is to prepare smarter before takeoff and landing. If there are 1 or 2 tiny things you truly need close, such as glasses, one essential card, a phone, or critical medication, keep them secured on your body or in a small reachable pouch. Do not depend on standing up and reaching into an overhead bin when seconds matter. During takeoff and landing, do not let your entire life sit above your head. Keep the smallest essential items close and leave the luggage if an emergency ever happens. The bag can be replaced. The seconds lost in the aisle cannot. That rule is uncomfortable because nobody wants to imagine it. But the final rule is the one travelers see every day at the gate, and it is still the one creating the most public carry-on drama right now. Number 1. The fully packed sizer trap. This is the obvious rule, but it is still the one catching travelers the fastest. Carry-on size. Most people know there is a limit. Many even know the rough number. But knowing the limit and passing the physical sizer at the gate are two different things. A bag can look fine in your bedroom. It can roll smoothly through the terminal. It can be the same suitcase you used on your last trip. But at the gate, none of that matters. The only question is whether the bag fits the sizer exactly as it is right now. Fully packed, with wheels, with handles, with the front pocket filled, with the side handle included, with the expansion zipper closed. No pressing the bulge down with your hand. No squeezing the corners together. No assuming the wheels do not count because the fabric body looks fine. This is where travelers get caught. The main suitcase may measure correctly, but the wheels add length, the handle adds shape, the front pocket adds depth, and the expansion zipper adds just enough extra space to push the bag over the edge. At home, it looked like a carry-on. At the gate, it becomes a problem. For senior travelers, the stressful part is not only the possible fee, it is the public repacking. Nobody wants to kneel near the boarding door, open a suitcase on the floor, and pull out medication, chargers, glasses, or a sweater while the boarding line waits. That is why this rule belongs at number 1. It is the rule everyone thinks they understand until the airport measures the bag differently than they did at home. Test your carry-on at home in its real travel condition. Pack it the way you actually travel. Include wheels, handles, side pockets, front pockets, and any bulge. Keep the expansion zipper closed if the bag is already close to the limit. If it barely passes at home, assume it may fail when the flight is full and the gate agent is being strict. The safest carry-on this summer is not the one that used to pass. It is the one that still passes when the airport stops being forgiving. Now I'm curious, which one of these surprised you the most? Tell me in the comments. I'd love to know. And if you want your next trip to feel smoother, calmer, and more in control, make sure you subscribe. Because stress at the airport doesn't come from travel. It comes from not knowing what's really happening.